How deep it goes. And then I'm going in our soil too, so let's come back in our water. Let's come back in our water too. So putting their hands through. Yeah. Earth Day, back, but we got their hands. I'm like, what's wrong with you? Why? But you got to touch it.
Okay. And she's you're something. People are doing this.
It won't be that long. About 15, 20 minutes. Once you take 15 minutes, put it there. Remember. I'm gonna get it. I think I'm trying to see if we're ready to start. I think he almost. They look like he almost ready. We need to go. I saw Channel 4. There's somebody from the block right there. Both of us ain't gonna make each one of us just it ain't heavy. It ain't heavy. I don't just I'm gonna put my phone. They ought to be able to understand the word GA is. Here, hold it, take me pass it out. I'm gonna pull my car up and park across the go.
Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3.
Are we just beat that?
No, yeah,
Testing 1, 2,
that was
3.
me.
Testing 1, 2, 3.
And most like it does have news. So most people trust barrier. Did you say channel 4?
Yeah. I'm so glad you found it. I can watch it after that time.
We pulled up, we saw it, but that's a real.
Over here. So,
Pulling up.
hi.
Oh, that's the stop sign. Why is there a stop sign? Oh, they only come in.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
That's where you go.
Okay, get across. They just wanted to wait till the First, we got it, kind of like it was, because they hated for us.
When they put black folks in the
But everything, you know, it's like,
See that picture? No.
1990. Years. I was barely.
Oh, I'm part of this.
I am managing.
I know.
Have a little fun job. I don't have the product.
Wonder how many
Low
bodies.
profile there. I have a whole different name there.
that's interesting.
I said, no, she's just here. No, yeah. We're not right back in now. I just, oh, good.
It's still,
It's not,
people
it's
still
not.
going.
Well, I can't help but get in there. They're going water costs. Get rid of it. It's gonna be.
They act like they.
Again.
Yeah, and they were talking about.
Right.
I remember when the meeting where they were talking about
Our water pressure are
rubber in the ground, heat up the kind that you can put vacuum up over the device to suck the air up and purify it. I said, and I'm
Yeah, there is. It's real.
I said, because you talking about leaving unattended cops.
Unattended shopper, what could happen? What could go wrong?
I said, this is a
They
poor
took our
neighborhood.
whole line from background all the way to New City.
I
They
know.
stole all the cops.
Our house in South City was gutted.
You got it. They just went down in the manhole and stole all the AT&T cops.
Yeah. Yep. My husband works for AT&T. I get the reports, yeah.
I said, see, y'all put fiber optic there a long time ago and they would stole the copper, like you said.
Yeah, exactly. That's blind us.
Yeah, just happened. Last thing you saw.
Must mean they slinging that fiber optic now.
Yeah, they have to. Huh? They have to.
The lines.
Okay, where do we stay positions on the edges somewhere?
So what the thing is,
One of my favorite. Everybody likes it.
Thank you. We'll be getting started in about 5 minutes. Okay. So keep everybody behind.
Not blocking the front.
For those who will be in related backdrop with y'all, come on behind. Front of the sign. Maybe everybody point.
Wait.
Oh, you so yes, they are. And then
Okay. Testing, testing. Okay. Thank everybody for coming.
yes, our slogan is safety and healthy community. Healthy because of the environment, what's going on here. So that's what's not just our community, but all the communities. Because if they build something here, other communities, if we all came together for the eminent domain and everything else that's going on, we want to make sure that people know that we're not just about JVL, we're about all the communities to be safe. So that's why we're saying safety and healthy community for all over in the city or county in St. Louis. That was the vote.
Testing, 1, 2, 3.
Thank you. I forgot to.
11:57. 11:57. Miss Mary? Testing, 1, 2, 3. I know. Okay, slam on the deck. All right, it's 12 noon, everybody. So we're going to start the press conference. So hello, everyone. We are Mr. and Mrs. Alexander, longtime residents of the city of St. Louis. Welcome and happy Earth Day from the Jeff Vanderloo Association and all of our neighbors, family, and friends representing other communities in the St. Louis region. Today, we're all standing on Grand Boulevard, North Grand Boulevard, near St. Louis Avenue on the north side of the city of St. Louis. Today on Earth Day, we bring awareness to our responsibility to protect the land, the air we breathe, the water we drink, the soil we plant our food in, getting rid of trash, and many other things. And all of this is about ensuring that citizens and their neighbors and neighborhoods remain safe. Environmental issues are here and all over the world. Locally, besides the data centers and Coldwater Creek, St. Louis faces other major environmental issues, many of which are long-standing and well documented. The Carter carburetor plant that stood right behind us manufactured carburetors for 69 years, from 1915 to 1984, then closed in 1984 and sat vacant for about 30 years. This carburetor plant contained toxins, numerous toxins, lead, asbestos, and other contaminants. The Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, conducted a Superfund cleanup and demolition of the big building from 2013 to 2020. According to records, the cost for that cleanup was $30 million. The owners of this land are the Boys and Girls Clubs of Greater St. Louis and the City of St. Louis Land Reutilization Authority, LRA. Since the completion of this cleanup in 2020, the community has not been shown any transparent follow-up testing before construction begins for a proposed golf recreational space for our youth. Today on Earth Day, we're bringing attention to this issue and want the community to know that we are waiting to hear back from the owners of this site to get some answers if responsible parties will conduct a thorough testing of the land before construction begins, because they have a legal and moral obligation to protect this community, protect the children, protect the families, protect all of us, protect the employees. And we insist on full accountability, and we're praying that we get an answer soon. Thank you.
Good morning. Can you hear me? I'm Barb Chicario with the Green Party of St. Louis, and JVL, the Jeff Vanderloo Neighborhood Group, reached out to us over a year ago with their concerns about the site. So I put together a little bit of history and some of our concerns. The Carter Carburetor Factory was abandoned, as Ms. Alexander said, and stood vacant for over 30 years. And it was because a concerned neighbor that the EPA finally stepped in and made the Superfund cleanup site. She got the ball rolling. Today, again, it is concerned citizens that are requesting monitoring and testing before ground is broken at the same site for this proposed children's golf-themed recreational facility. It's important to remember why the EPA made the expensive decision to do cleanup at the site. The two prominent chemicals of concern were PCBs, polychlorinated biphenyls, which is a persistent and forever chemical associated with a number of health hazards, cancers, immune disorders, reproductive and neurological disorders. And many of these health effects aren't manifested until years after exposure. And this is one reason why children are at the greatest risk. The other chemical was TCE, trichloroethylene, and the exposure to this is linked to kidney cancer, liver cancer, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, Parkinson's disease, reproductive issues, and many others. EPA completed, as Ms. Alexander said, their work in 2020, but when the community heard that the site was going to be converted into a recreational center for children, they had a simple request. Please retest the soil before breaking ground. This request has fallen on the deaf ears from the owners of the property, Herbert Hoover Boys and Girls Club. We are here today to make this request public. Our first request to Herbert Hoover was made over a year ago. followed by several emails that included resource materials and information. During this past year, because of correspondence with the EPA, we also discovered that the part of the contaminated material was not, most of the dirt was removed offsite, but they actually landfilled what they call the old die-cast area, which probably has some of the most concerning chemicals in it. So we need monitoring for leachate out of that, along with enforceable dust control during grading and construction. We want a complete evaluation of air, soil, water, and emergency measures. Neighbors have also inquired about the cap over the landfill. There's a cap over it. They want more information about the materials and how long that cap is expected to last. Children in this community deserve the same concern and guaranteed safety that families in communities with more resources are afforded without even asking. It is time for Herbert Hoover Boys and Girls Club to come forward and live up to their integrity oath. And their integrity oath, that's on their website, says, "We know that trust is a fragile commodity and therefore carry out our relationships and responsibilities truthfully and with transparency." So we would really ask that they contact us. All right. And then we have one more.
Hi, I'm Don Phipps, Outreach Coordinator for the Green Party of St. Louis. I want to emphasize that toxins are much more dangerous for children than they are for adults. Children's body systems or their organ systems are still developing, and so what may have an effect on somebody my age is going to have vastly more effect on somebody who's 9 or 10 or 11 years old. I want to also point out that we're not concerned just about this toxic contamination. There's toxic contamination all over the St. Louis area. So if you add this on top of what could be what has happened other places, you're talking about very high levels of contamination. And last, I want to mention that one of the sources of toxins, which is most severe, is golf courses, because golf courses use an enormous number of pesticides. And so if you add all of these together, you have the possibility for very bad contamination and disease-causing chemicals to children. Thank you very much.
My name is Saiki Baruti, and I'm President General of the Universal African Peoples Organization. And most recently, I want to first of all thank Jeff Vanderloo, organizers, for bringing attention to this very serious issue. And I'm going to ask everybody, let's point to the danger that this land represents, the danger. But also, I want to just say, first and foremost, I want to thank the concept of providing a platform for our young people to engage in terms of the golf concept. However, primary number one issue should be the safety of young people as well as adults. And it has been purely laid out by the Green Party of the total effect that if this soil is not tested, the kind of impact on the negative side that may come from our youth utilizing this golf platform. Also, I just wanted to put it out there in terms of, as Barbara made mention, what if this proposal was held or this land was in a predominantly white area? What would happen? It'd be retested. As well as the political leadership would be on hand to say it must be tested. So the question becomes, where is the political leadership on this particular issue? So we stand as an organization in total support of the call for retesting. 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 Let's all say that. Retesting. 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 So on that note, I also want to thank the press for being here, and prayerfully you will report this and that the citizens in this area as well as throughout St. Louis, stand up in solidarity with the fact that before this go forward, that this land be retested. And so on that note, I just want to thank everybody. I want to thank everybody that came out today. This shows that the community is concerned, and so we will be victorious because this will be retested, because it's the will of the people. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Velma Bailey, and I'm a longtime resident of JVL community in the 2900 block on Dodier. My family has owned property for 60 years. We were dislocated from the Hamilton Heights area and moved here. I like to say my first job at 15 years of age was at the Boys and Girls Club. It was then the Boys Club. I was the second girl that was hired there. We are very concerned as residents on Dodier that this site be retested because many of the people in our community between St. Louis Avenue and Natural Bridge have died or now have cancer. It is very important to take a moment, to take a second check, just to make sure that the environment is safe. The children don't necessarily live in this neighborhood who go to the Boys Club, but they travel throughout this city. And they can take those contaminants anywhere. My daughter came home from college and now we have to remove our shoes at the door. Children deserve safe, supervised locations in which to grow and develop into the citizens that we want them to be and make adequate contributions to this community. We can't continue to ignore them. We can't continue to just let them have anything. It's not business as usual anymore. Our neighborhood is standing up for our people, and we appreciate the press being here to help us advocate, to amplify our voices. And I have personally, as a member of this community, a former employee of the Boys and Girls Club, both of my brothers have been Boys of the Year in this facility. I worked here till I went to college. I used to walk from my home in Dodier up to St. Louis University and pass by this place. I want help. We all want help. We need help. We're trying to do this in the most We're trying to do this in a way that will get the response that we need. People are always saying that we are out protesting and doing things, but I've written personal letters to the director of this Boys and Girls Club and got no answer. Please help us.
My name is Gwendolyn Coxell. I live in Academy, Sherman Park, and I've been riding around the community, and I've been noticing these LRA buildings that we know is full of lead. I thought that when they do this, they're supposed to use water to keep the dust down and the contaminants down. But I'm noticing that these buildings are being demolished and they're not using water. I'm looking at big contractors. You're supposed to hire contractors, and it's supposed to be water sprayed to keep these contaminants down, but it's not being done. So we bring in a word of all of this stuff, and I thank the Green Party because they always on top of these things. But we need to start looking at our neighborhoods, and if you see somebody demolishing a building and they're not using water, what is the number you call? I think it's 311, and you can turn them in because our future, our children are the future. And I bring Miss Alexander. She want to take questions. Thank you.
All right, we're thanking everyone for coming today. So we'd like to ask the press, do you all have any questions today?
First question, real quick. Can you say, what's your first name, ma'am? I know you said you were Mrs. Alex.
Oh, Carla Alexander, and my husband, Miguel Alexander.
I know one person they reached out afterwards. They announced they were going to do this 6 years ago. No work has started yet. Do you believe this project is still going to happen?
Well, we don't know the answer to that. We really don't, but the PGA representatives, the funders, and everyone, they're talking on all the emails. We reached out to, Mr. Brandon Williams. So they never gave us a solid date. It was last year when we reached out to them, if they're possibly started the fall of last year, but it didn't. So we're not sure of that. Any more questions? Right.
there anything you're doing for state testing developed that annual year?
Well, yes, sir. I mean, it's been 6 years, from 2020 to 2026. If they want to just at least make the effort, right? I mean, and it's not about the soil either. We started out with just requesting a soil test, but they're going to have to test the soil, the water, the air, and it has to be a thorough evaluation along with an emergency plan. What if the tap starts leaking? You know, there's a lot of things going on that aren't in place and they're not being transparent with the community. Okay, yes, the history of it all. And then if you research Superfund sites, Superfund sites have to be monitored. Superfund sites have to be tested, you know, regularly. And so nothing's been done. Now, we've reached out to them trying to start the dialogue. And if it has been a test, nobody has told us. So
They would think like, look at the contamination on the outside of the property they own. How can you trust somebody when they won't keep their own property? If you have your grass 6 inches high, you get a citation from the city. Look what they've allowed them to do.
They haven't given them anything. Look at this. They didn't get anything.
Want to re-emphasize why is the sign still up? Danger. Danger. And we want to emphasize that the sign is up, that it means it's dangerous, right?
That's right.
So that's why we're having this information for the public to be aware.
Okay, the question is, why would people still be worried if the site has been retested, has been tested? There's a couple of things that we need to keep in mind. One is when soil is underground, that does not mean it stays where it was. Soil moves. So the fact that soil was one place in 2020 doesn't mean it's in the same place in 2026. The other thing is that there's highly contaminated toxins here that are separated from other soil by a membrane. The assumption is that when soil moves, nothing happens to the membrane, and the membrane is there perfect. That's not the case. Membranes can leak, membranes can break as soil moves. So that's why the EPA says there has to be continuous monitoring of a site and not just do it one time in 2020 and then forget about it for 100 years.
How can you brought that up? Because I have a question. You mentioned the landfill. Does that mean that they put a bunch of soil in and then after off? Like, how does that work?
So what happened was they did remove 3 feet of soil and disposed of that at a landfill also. They also landfilled on site the old die-cast building. I don't know why. I think maybe it was heavy, but it was polluted. So there is a landfill within the site that's capped. The people are concerned about, and I'm concerned about the leachate and the runoff.
okay, we'll take 1 or 2 more questions. Any more questions?
I'm a long-time resident, service steward of JVL community. If you look here, if this was our property and EPA was saying we were not in accordance with it, what would happen to us? So I need everybody here to think about that. We would be down in court, being sued, everything else right now. Why? Because the big people got the money. Why we gotta suffer? And why our children and your children to come? Because they put a golf here, everyone's gonna come here and have fun. But if it's not safe, then who's at fault? Now we're at fault. All about our kids. Oh, I remember when they had this, a long time they did this for the community. We shouldn't listen. No, listen now, not later. Our look over here is safety and healthy communities for everyone. Safety and healthy communities for what? Everywhere.
What we're asking for is not outrageous. The cost for retesting the soil is minimum compared to the cost to shut the site down after constructing it because people have gotten sick. When construction begins on a property, I don't know if anyone remembers the property that's now up and running on the other side of Jefferson. There was a lot of federal testing that was done there, and a lot of people got sick. There were schools over there, and children got sick. So the idea that, you know, it's not a big deal that it was tested a long time ago is it's too lax. We're talking about children who will uphold the future of our city, people who may go on to do big and great things. And we want to make sure that the soil is safe. We want to make sure that not only is the site safe for the children, but for the people in the neighborhood. Golf is a great sport, and it does a lot of great things for people, and people are able to transform their lives with scholarships and lots of things like that. And so we definitely understand the sentiment behind Herbert Hoover wanting to create something great for kids to have. However, we want to make sure that kids are not suffering, because if we want children to have a great and bright future, we want to make sure that they're not. So in order to do that, we need to test the soil, and not just test the soil. If the soil is unsafe, this project needs to be scrapped and needs to be moved somewhere else. This city has untold vacant lots, untold unused property that the city and the LRA have. And I know that the people who give to Herbert Hoover Boys and Girls Club are happy to see children do well, and that they want their money to go toward keeping kids safe and healthy, and not toward putting them in early graves. Thank you.
Okay, so we thank everybody. Happy birthday again. Press, we really appreciate you guys. And that's the end of our press conference. So thank you, everybody. Have a good day.
Yeah, I just pulled up the final.
Oh, you're awesome. Yeah, the toxins don't go away.
All right, young man. What's your name again?
Tavon.
Avon.
Tavon, yes, sir. Tavon Brooks. Kids are messy. Most of the basketball. The best thing to do would be to feel the area off.